Hey there, and welcome back to another My Hero Academia video. I'm a bit behind, but that's life, you know. And so today we're going to be talking about Season 7, Episode 7, Inflation, which continues the battles that we saw begin at the end of last episode, with all the different villains taken to different places. Whilst Deku was of course being a bit of a dweeb, and got overpowered by Toga somehow. And I would like to say that whilst I have read the manga, I remember like one or two plot points, at best, from this arc. So I'm pretty much flying blind here, and so with all that being said, time to jump into the episode, right? So we start off with a cold open that was honestly a largely unnecessary recap in my eyes. Takes like 4 minutes, and they talk about things that previous episodes had covered in depth. The plan to separate the different villains from one another so they can divide and conquer, how Shigaraki and All For One have a shared consciousness, how Darby's probably the number 3 threat in terms of overall firepower, how they need to lure them out using Shinso's brainwashing quirk and then use the teleport quirk that Monoma will have stolen in order to teleport the different fighters to the ideal battlefields. I think maybe only the second part where they remind us how they used the Troy system to trap the villains and teleport them to the battlefields was needed. But that whole first half with the boardroom with All Might and the planning team, it was unnecessary padding. How many times are we going to recap this shit? Hopefully this is the last time they have to give us the full plan, otherwise my god. So yeah, it takes about 5 minutes to actually get to the battles. But then we're there at last. And first up we head over to the coffin in the sky, built to neutralize Shigaraki and his decay quirk, and we just have a really brief recap of what happened at the end of last episode. Namely that Monoma and Aizawa had him under control from the get-go, and so he was unable to use his many quirks, but regardless, he was able to form this massive fingers and whatnot, and used it to pummel Mirko when she tried to get close to him. And then we get to see the rest of that scene, where he tries to do the same to everybody else and hit them with his ever-expanding finger growth. Ugh. This is truly one of the most disgusting visuals in the show. It's up there with Deku's limbs going full Gumby back when he used to overuse his quirk past his body's limits. It grows so quick. Ugh. It's just pure nightmare fuel if we're being honest right now. Yeesh. And yeah, it's revealed that these growths, they're not quirks, but just his body and its natural evolution. And he tells them this is the future of quirks. People who are so riddled with powers that they are truly unstoppable forces of nature. And like really though, because didn't he have to be genetically engineered in order to make him like this? So if this singularity point is on the horizon, I still think it would be many generations away from people being able to be like this naturally. And surely at a certain point it would be too much for a natural body to sustain anyway, wouldn't it? Either way, we then see that not only is Mirko not dead from being pummeled like this, but she seems utterly fine. Completely fine. Yes, the metal limbs she had have shattered, but her bones, her skin, she's all good. She's just a bit scuffed, but luckily she has heaps of spare prosthetics, so it's all fine. You'd think getting walloped by these big finger tendrils would have been way more damaging. Hell, do you remember what that random high-end Nomu did to her body? So that did feel a bit plot armory. Also, she and Bakugo get into it, and they're pretty much the same person it seems, a highly intelligent warrior, with a chip on their shoulder and a very big temper, but the skills to back it all up. So of course they're going to clash. And whilst I think him going to his opposite in Best Jeanist was the funnier work-study idea, seeing his hair getting combed up all nice and everything, that was very funny. I actually kind of wish we also could have gotten to see some team-up episodes where these two have to work together alone on the streets. It would have been madness. I also love that she just doesn't care to get his name right, but he's insisting on the full title. And this is where they get the news that Deku is far away. And there's the realization that Monoma can't bring him back with warp, as they can't take their eyes off Shigaraki for even a second because he's constantly multiplying his gross fingers. And so, if he's even able to use decay for even just a split second, it would destroy the whole facility before they had a chance to neutralize anything. Many of the heroes in Support Corps would die horrible deaths. Yeah, this whole thing where Deku gets taken away does feel like a massively cheap writing device in order to extend things out and prevent Deku getting there too soon. You know, gotta hold off on that big final confrontation, but I get it. And I kind of like it because it means that we're going to get to see what everybody else can do and give them a chance to fight before Deku turns up and gets most of the focus again. And speaking of Deku, we then move on to him, and he's found himself on some random island off the coast of Japan alongside Gang Orca and his sidekicks, and Uraraka, Froppy, and some randoms. And they're battling against what seems to be a very powerful Nomu and a bunch of quite strong villains, including that utter freak of nature. What was his name? Moonfish? The psycho with the knife teeth that grow? Ugh. And yeah, he whoops some serious ass. I'm pretty sure he straight up kills a couple of heroes in one go. At least one. You can see this Killer Whale Jr. guy. He's totally getting impaled. He's probably dead. He's not a named character, and thus he doesn't have anime super survival skills to keep him alive beyond the point of believability. He's dead. And so here we get our first proper look at Deku, who, well, he's dealing with Toga, who can keep sneak attacking him without warning, without his Danger Sense quirk activating, because I guess she feels affection when she causes pain, and thus it doesn't qualify as real danger to the quirk. I don't know, it felt like a pretty weak writing loophole to me, as just because you love someone and feel affection when you hurt them, it doesn't mean it's not real danger. I don't know, it was weird. But I did find it amusing that even the ghost of the fourth user is looking at her and thinking, yeah, this bitch is crazy. How can she possibly exist? Like, my god, she actually is truly demented. Surely there's no rehab for this girl, surely. It can't be the direction the story goes. I mean, look at her. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, in one of the episode's funniest moments, she confesses her love to Deku and says she wants him to be her boyfriend. Uraraka looking shaken by this revelation, and then it goes to present Mike doing his epic narration, building up what an important character Deku is. He has a special quirk, he's the strongest hero, the game plan revolves around him, it's his quirk that All For One wants, he's his archenemy, etc, etc. Only for him to panic and start blushing heavily that a girl wants him to be her boyfriend. And it's a totally crazy girl at that, and he should just be brushing this off, thinking, nah, she's crazy, but instead he just panics. Although maybe panicking is a good thing, because look at this face. Ugh, let me suck your blood so I can be you. The height of romance, truly. Time to leave, Deku. Run away. No thank you. And instead of doing the really rational and reasonable thing, which would be running away or attacking her, he instead inquires as to her intent. Does she want to go to an amusement park, hold hands, share a crepe? Is he considering this? Or did she just straight up break his brain? Either way, it doesn't matter because they get splashed, she disappears again, and Deku realizes that she is his worst matchup of all time in the context of a free-for-all, because he can lose her so quickly and then get stabbed with a sneak attack. Super strength does not equal super durability, and a stab is still going to hurt him badly. Deku then questions her outlook and asks her if she wants to be him so badly. Why doesn't she want to behave like he would and follow his personality traits, and thus not try to hurt people, especially those that he loves? And what do you know, it turns out that questioning the principles of someone who's violent and mentally unwell is a very, very bad choice. It just makes her spiral harder and think he's the same as her parents in Uraraka, wanting her to hide who she is. And so she goes all out and tries to attack him. Of course, he survives the onslaught rather easily because he should, and it would stretch believability for her to injure him when she's attacking him head on. She should not be in any way faster than him. He should be able to deflect these easily, and he does. She then gets tackled by Uraraka, who tells her that she's been thinking about her since their last fight, only to get the response of, well, I haven't thought of you at all. I don't know why, but I always find that sort of response so ridiculously funny. Reminds me of the classic Thanos versus Scarlet Witch moment. But yeah, a massive moment here happens when Uraraka gets stabbed by Toga, but Deku and Froppy both intervene at the same time to ensure that it doesn't go too deep or anything like that. Also, how is Deku still stuffing up Sue's name? Like, bro, you've wanted to be a hero for years. Get with the program, be able to use the hero names easily. On top of that, you've known this girl for like a year. Come on. And then Froppy tells him to leave because, well, the plan was for her and Uraraka to take down Toga because they've fought her the most. They have the most experience against the most unpredictable member of the league. Whilst Deku needs to boogie his ass back to the mainland to fight against Shigaraki urgently. And so Deku uses his float Fajin combined with Air Force to motor his way out of there. But still isn't fast enough for him, and so he considers using the, as of yet, unseen quirk of user number 2, which is apparently mutated far beyond what is considered safe due to the added power of all the users added to One For All. But this guy, he was a war general, right? Against All For One, so he's able to use his spirit, talk Deku down, and explain that it makes no tactical sense to damage or exhaust himself before he's even arrived at the battlefield, because he'll just get killed. And thus he needs to keep going as is, and trust that his allies have it covered for now. So I think this is going to give us a few episodes of breathing room for us to watch the other fights play out whilst Deku travels. Man, this is actually getting exciting. It's not the Deku show for once. I'm really excited to see what we get from some of the more minor characters coming up. And then we cut back to Toga and Froppy and Uravity, and we see them squaring up, and it looks like Toga's going to be using twice his blood to get access to his quirk, which is, well, that's a big move, big power move, and indicates that this is going to be a big, big fight. And I expect that most of the lower tier heroes, they're probably going to die here. Maybe even the Orca guy to add some gravitas to the battle, but obviously not Froppy or Uraraka. There is no chance either of them dies. But of course that's for another time, because now we cross over to Kamino at the old battle site of All For One versus All Might, the final clash, to witness Darby versus Shoto. And yeah, it looks like it's been a massacre off screen. Whilst we saw the opening act of Shigaraki and Toga, we did not see this. We just get some narration from Darby as he sits in a huge field of fire with corpses all around and Nomus seemingly finishing off the stragglers. So it has not been a good day for the heroes. And it looks like they're down to Shoto, some of the Endeavor sidekicks, and Ida. Hell yeah. Finally getting some good Eater content. That's what I've been waiting for literal years. And so yeah, Darby's a bit salty that Endeavor didn't come himself and instead sent his sidekicks and Shoto, but tactically it was probably the right call, right? As if he was there, surely Darby would inflict even more damage because it would make him go rabid. Every time he sees the man, he goes nuts. And so I guess they figured there was a chance to avoid that, especially since Shoto can counter his fire with ice. Also, it was really cool to see how loyal Endeavor's sidekicks are, and that even though they acknowledge he's a grumpy old dweeb at times, they respect him as a hero to follow. Also, we learned that he has a BO problem, which I found to be rather funny. I mean, I guess he would always be sweating, considering he has a fire beard on the job. Probably would be a bit warm. Surely the support teams could make a new and improved deodorant for him, though. Because that's not a very good reputation for the number one hero, is it? Oh yeah, Endeavor's pretty cool and he's really strong, but man, he stinks. No wonder he never surpassed All Might. Look at All Might, I guarantee he smells great. Probably has his own branded cologne. Don't ask me why I think that, but you can just tell. But yeah, at the same time, like father like son, I bet you Darby does not smell great. And as the sidekicks reaffirm their loyalty to Shoto, he challenges Darby, saying he wants to stop him himself, and you'll notice that Darby is burning and the flesh from his face is sloughing off. Ew, yuck. Staples aren't holding anymore. Pork crackling, human crackling. And then we finish off with a promise for Darby to explain why he never returned home after his survival on the mountain, with the preview promising more of that. So, next episode, probably a lot of Darby flashback, intercut with a little bit of fighting, probably just trading fire blasts at first. And then there'll be a transition scene to set up a different fight for the next episode, which will probably be All For One versus Endeavor. Just a guess. It feels topical because they both have big stakes in Darby's life. One is his father, and then the other one in the preview, All For One is standing there in Darby's flashback. So, yeah, still trying to catch up. We'll have the next episode out soon, and so with all that being said, these have been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the episode? You like it? Hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.